In this podcast episode, Mel Robbins interviews renowned couples therapist Terry Real, who shares profound insights into why many relationships struggle and what it truly takes to build healthy, enduring partnerships. The conversation covers cultural challenges, the importance of relational skills, navigating childhood wounds in adult relationships, and practical advice for couples at all stages. Terry emphasizes the need for vulnerability, mutual respect, and communication skills to foster intimacy, repair disharmony, and find joy in connection. Terry Real begins by framing current relationships within the larger cultural context. We live in a patriarchal, individualistic culture that does not cherish relationships or support the relational skills necessary to sustain lifelong love. Unlike previous generations that settled for companionate marriages with limited passion and communication, today's individuals desire deep connection, passion, and enduring intimacy. However, societal norms continue to promote dominance and control, leaving couples ill-equipped to handle the demands of modern relationships. Terry calls for the education system to teach practical relationship skills from a young age so people can pursue the ambition of being lifelong lovers within a culture that supports this goal. Central to Terry's philosophy is the concept of relationship technology, a set of learned, deliberate skills that help couples navigate the inevitable ups and downs of intimacy. He challenges the myth that long-term relationships should be spontaneous and effortless, explaining that all relationships involve a continuous cycle of harmony, disharmony, and repair. The repair phase is where these relational skills come into play. One fundamental skill Terry highlights is the way partners communicate their needs. Asking for what they want with love and clarity works far better than criticizing or blaming. This process involves daring to rock the boat by telling the truth skillfully, teaching your partner what you want, and rewarding any effort they make, even if imperfect. Mastering these steps demands courage and sophistication, and it moves beyond cultural norms of dominance. The episode delves deeply into how traditional gender roles and expectations contribute to dissatisfaction and resentment. Terry defines resentful accommodation as when partners, often women, take on burdens they believe belong to the other person, leading to frustration and anger. For example, when traditional male roles as breadwinners falter and women step up to compensate, both partners can feel they have cratered. This is not a failing of the individuals, but a breakdown of outdated social scripts. Both men and women must adjust their identities to cultivate what Terry calls relational empowerment, a dynamic where partners stand alongside each other with love and power rather than conforming to dominant submissive roles. Breaking free from these rigid roles requires vulnerability and a willingness to redefine what masculinity and femininity mean. A major theme Terry explores is how each partner's childhood wounds, what he terms unfinished business, are triggered in the relationship. Partners often unwittingly reenact patterns from their past, with their adaptive child responding to emotional flooding by fighting, fleeing, or fixing behaviors learned early in life. When conflicts arise, the adult brain's rational prefrontal cortex shuts down, and the reactive wounded child takes over, leading to repetitive, destructive cycles. Recognizing that the person in front of you is interacting not only as an adult, but also as these wounded and adaptive inner parts is crucial to healing. Developing relational mindfulness, or the ability to pause and regulate emotional flood before reacting, helps couples break these cycles and respond more consciously. Terry describes the concept of the adaptive child as the survival strategies formed in childhood to manage trauma and neglect, such as lying to avoid punishment, shutting down when overwhelmed, or aggressively defending oneself. These behaviors, while protective in childhood, often sabotage adult relationships. Learning to recognize when the adaptive child is triggered and responding instead with the wise adult brain is key to developing healthier interactions. Terry urges couples to take breaks when emotionally flooded and return to dialogue when centered. He emphasizes that growth comes not from forcing the partner to change, but by ourselves taking responsibility for our reactions and choosing new ways of relating. The conversation highlights harshness as one of the most detrimental behaviors in relationships, offering no redeeming value and always causing damage. Terry stresses that firmness and boundaries can and should be delivered without harshness, promoting kindness even when addressing difficult issues. Vulnerability, often seen as weakness, especially in patriarchal cultures, is reframed as courage and strength. For men, this means embracing emotional openness and shedding the mask of invulnerability. For women, it involves asserting themselves with love, not with sharpness. Cultivating vulnerability creates the foundation for authenticity, trust, and real intimacy. Terry provides practical tools for how to bring up challenging topics without triggering defensiveness. The essential approach is to lead with vulnerability, expressing the feelings beneath anger or frustration first, and speak humbly and personally about one's experience rather than attacking or blaming. He encourages partners to dare to rock the boat by telling the truth gently but clearly, teaching each other desired behaviors and rewarding progress with appreciation. Understanding the dynamic between one up, dominant, angry, fighting, and one down, submissive, shutting down, fixing, responses is vital. Each partner must learn to shift from their habitual stance, one up to yield and be vulnerable, one down to stand up and assert needs, both moving toward relational democracy. The discussion covers the common pitfall of overfunctioning or fixing, often motivated by anxiety and a need to maintain peace. Terry explains that codependency means feeling only okay when others around you are okay, and thus avoiding rocking the boat out of fear. For these individuals, the growth challenge is to find the courage to stand up for themselves and express their needs authentically. Recognizing the intelligence of these adaptive strategies is important. They kept people safe in childhood, but it is time to retire them in adult relationships where mutual empowerment is possible. One listener question addresses the tendency to focus on criticism and negativity in relationships. Terry identifies chronic complaining as a form of control and a defense against vulnerability. He advocates for scanning for the positive, actively noticing and appreciating what one's partner does well instead of always focusing on flaws. This shift opens the door to receiving love, which many find frightening if they come from emotional scarcity backgrounds. Building the capacity to allow love and tenderness without skepticism is crucial for deepening connection. Addressing the loss of passion and spark after years together, Terry urges couples to tell each other the truth about feeling flat or disconnected rather than accepting a quiet resignation. He encourages creative efforts to mix things up, from trying new activities to playful intimacy, emphasizing that passion requires intention and vulnerability. Authentic desire emerges when partners lean into discomfort and communicate honestly, not by pretending or maintaining surface harmony. Terry addresses the difficult question of whether all relationships can or should be saved. He says no, some situations, especially those involving danger, chronic irresponsibility, addiction, or major mental health issues where one partner refuses to work on it, are not suitable for therapy or repair. He offers a tool called a relational reckoning, asking individuals if they receive enough from the relationship to make grieving the losses worthwhile. If not, it may be time to leave, but first, he recommends using relationship skills to try changing one's own behavior before quitting. Mel and Terry discuss the risks and boundaries around disclosing relationship struggles to family and friends. Sharing with in-laws or relatives can be harmful because it pulls outsiders into the marital dynamic and may betray the partner's trust. Friends can be valuable sources of support, but couples should train their friends to support the relationship's health, not encourage divisive or one-sided empowerment. The idea is to receive honest, constructive insight that helps improve the partnership rather than fuel blame or unilateral complaints. The skills Terry teaches are not limited to romantic partnerships, but apply broadly to all human relationships: family, friendships, workplace, and community. He emphasizes that learning relational skills, managing one's adaptive child, and practicing vulnerability and honesty are lifelong practices benefiting every connection one has. More relationally skilled individuals contribute to healthier biospheres socially and environmentally. Terry closes with an invitation to embrace the challenging but richly rewarding path of relational growth. Whether you see yourself as one up or one down, He urges finding the courage and vulnerability needed to transform relationships. He highlights that this work is about democracy, balance, and shared humanity, and is essential not only for personal fulfillment, but for the well-being of families, communities, and the planet. For those who receive this knowledge, it's an opportunity to break old cycles and create relationships filled with love, respect, and connection.